Hi, my name is Ellen Goodlet. I'm 24 years old. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I'm a nerd. I'm currently working in a book publishing house. It's nonfiction, so I market the earth science, geology, and aquaculture textbooks to the only people who want to read them, which is basically about 10 people per book. So that's really exciting. In my spare time, or any spare time that I have ever, I write young adult novels. Think Scott Westerfeld meets Neil Gaiman, Justine Larbalestier, Maureen Johnson, those kind of books, with a touch of science fiction a la Connie Willis, one of my favorite authors ever. I grew up on science fiction, the classics, Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars series, which I read when I was 10, Tarzan and the Apes, I blame my dad for that one, Frank Herbert's Dune, also blame dad. Yeah, just lots of nerdy reading, such as Lord of the Rings, which everyone loves, right? Except if you're the church group I used to go to, where one of the moms was convinced that because I wore a cloak and I had an even star and a one ring and Legolas's little pin thing, that I must be a devil worshipper. Which is kind of funny considering Tolkien was a devout Christian himself, but hey, whatever. Speaking of books I'm obsessed with, who could forget about Harry Potter, the biggest literary phenomenon of our generation? Of course I was into the books. I started reading them when I was 13. I was a little bit behind on the trend, but I fell in love with the first three, and I was at all of the midnight book premieres from then on. In support of Ravenclaw, of course, because it is the best house. It's where all the clever witches and wizards go. It's so hard to find Ravenclaw gear, too. Like, I went to Harry Potter World and I was super excited that they actually had Ravenclaw t-shirts, because aside from that, I've just had, like, my friends making me Ravenclaw sweatshirts or scarves. Although at least the scarves that they make are the proper Ravenclaw colors, dark blue and bronze, not silver, like they changed it to in the movies for no apparent reason. I also know way too much obscure trivia about Harry Potter. For example, that Bathilda Bagshot is the author of A History of Magic, or that Gilderoy Lockhart's autobiography is entitled Magical Me, or other things that other people would think are obscure, such as Fizzing Whizbees, but I think they're pretty normal. Also tasty. It's filled with Pop Rocks. You know you're jealous. That's my Speaking of Harry Potter, my roommate and I actually adopted cats together who we named after Harry Potter characters. This is my cat, the girl, Tonks. It was originally supposed to be Tonks and Lupin, but my roommate decided that the boy was not a very Lupin-esque personality, because he's kind of a crazy jerk. So this is Bogart, which I realized should be pronounced Bogart, but it's my roommate's cat, and what can I say? She's not very British. I grew up on movies like The Holy Grail and Princess Bride, of which I have entire scenes memorized. For example, this is the scene where the dread pirate Roberts runs into Vizzini and challenges him to a battle of wits. Sort of towards the end, because it's a really long scene and I don't want to put you through the entire thing. You're trying to trick me into giving something away. It won't work. But it has worked! You've given everything away! I know where the poison is! It's... What in the world can that be? What? Where? Oh, nothing. What's so funny? Nothing, nothing. I'll tell you in a moment. First, let's drink. Me from my glass and you from yours. You chose wrong. You only think I chose wrong. That's what's so funny! I switched glasses when your back was turned. You fell victim to one of the classic blunders, the most well-known of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well-known is this. Never go up against a Sicilian when death is on the line! And to think, all this time it was your cup that was poisoned. They were both poisoned. I spent the last several years building up an immunity to iocane powder. One of my biggest influences growing up was actually an online vampire roleplay game called Vampires: The Dark Alleyway, or also Raven Black City. It's basically a text-based computer game. It's not too exciting on screen, but there's an entire roleplay community behind it. I started playing this in early 2000. There's no graphics. It's before my computer understood what graphics were. I just really loved role-playing because it's like writing a giant story with 10,000 people all over the world. And I actually met all of my serious boyfriends playing this game, including my ex-fiance who lives in England. So transcontinental long distance via vampire roleplay game. I don't know if you can get much nerdier than that. In high school, I started out in marching band playing the flute, which I was horrible at. I pretty much spent the entire practice twirling the flute around. And so one of the directors suggested that I try out for color guard, which I loved. If you imagine this is a flag, the next segment looks a little bit more impressive. Sorry to break up the action, but I actually promised someone that I would go on a raid with them really fast in the other vampire game that I'm currently playing. Be right back. What I'm wearing right now is I'm trying to find someone to attack, but okay, here's someone. So basically, I'm the little one that says hobo, and then I shoot this person with my shotgun. Get it? Hobo, shotgun. It's funny. Alright, I'll stop now. I did fencing in high school and college. It's been a couple years, so my form's a little off, but I swear I was pretty decent once upon a time. Also, you have to imagine that this is a little bit more formidable than a stick. Since I mentioned college, I went to Bryn Mawr College. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's kind of a cult in the way that the cults of Diana back in Greek times were cultish. Yeah. Except we would be a cult of Athena. We have a giant statue of her in our school hall, and every class gets lanterns in the colors of the elements. So obviously my class was fire, because we're the most awesome. And then you have to sing Greek hymns during lantern night while you swing the lanterns, which really just means carry them up and down. I would pick it up, but it's missing a bolt. We also have our own war chant, which, to the dismay of my good friend's neighbors, I am now going to perform. Anessa Kata, Kala, Kala, Yanike, Bryn Mawr, Bryn Mawr, Bryn Mawr! Sounds more intimidating when there are about 1,500 people screaming it instead of just one. And if you're wondering about my competitiveness, just let me tell you, I friggin' wasted 4 hobbits and a golem to get my hands on this ring. Yeah, that's how I roll. Also, in spite of the fact that I am not a traditional gamer in that I don't play video games or really anything that has any sort of graphics to it, I do watch several web series religiously that are based on games, such as Red vs. Blue, which is filmed in Halo. If you've never watched it, it's friggin' hilarious, and even if you don't play Halo, it's worth it. I also watch Duralius and Associates, which is based on D&D, I think, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. Oh yeah, you know that's where it's at. When I first told my friends that I was applying to be on a show about nerds, they tried to convince me in the way that you try to convince your 60-year-old grandmother that she hasn't gained any weight in the past 3 decades, that I was not a nerd. To which I responded, I memorized 60 digits of pi in high school. 3.141596535857932388462795028841971693993751 I used to know more than that. And then they agreed that I was in fact a nerd. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that in the past generation, being a nerd has become more than a derogatory term. It means that you think outside the box. It means that you're not afraid to really, really, really love the things that you're into, and you're willing to let people know that. And to quote my favorite Disney movie, Halloween Town, being normal is vastly overrated. Although maybe technically I would be a geek rather than a nerd, but who likes that word? I mean, biting heads off of chickens, no thank you. And dork? Whale penis? What? Really? I'm gonna stick with nerd. Yeah, sounds cooler. Before we start, do your neighbors care if I shout?
No, well, okay. I don't care.
All right.
It's okay.
It's okay. I like what the girl at the room doing.
Okay. So I'm taping. Notice. Okay. Bring your one hand in because it looks gigantic because of the angle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Giant head. In that way that you try to convince your 60-year-old grandmother that she hasn't gained any weight since the 50s, that doesn't work math-wise. Ow, cat.
Okay, whenever you're ready, because it's rolling.
Okay. I feel like we should put in outtakes at the end. Just be like,
I was thinking that because some of these are totally